Hello everyone and welcome to the sideboard of the StarCityGames.com Dallas Standard Open. I'm here with Tony.
Hello.
And Tony is playing a 5-color control deck with Chromatic Lantern and just an actual ton of cards. No 4-ofs at all in the deck list, right?
Yes.
At least not in like one zone. We might between our main and side potentially. No,
actually,
I don't
no,
think so.
there actually is no 4-ofs.
Yeah,
unless
so,
you want to count Jace and Jace, but
oh yeah, but
they're different Jaces.
Different Jaces. So at best a playset of Jace.
Yes.
That's it. So just go ahead and run us through the deck. Let's talk about where you came up with the concept. Obviously, I imagine Chromatic Lantern played some kind of role in this.
Well, yeah, at first I wanted to play a Vaskra in a junk color deck,
Okay.
but I noticed Vaskra is really bad. So I wanted to play Jace, but I still want to play at least one of her. So I started going if I'm going to play 3 colors plus a white for the 4th color, I'm also just playing all 5.
Sure.
And I saw Chromatic Lantern, and then I just started putting all the cards together. And essentially with Ravnica, Return to Ravnica out, there's so many powerful cards like Space for Revelation and Rakdos Returns. Mm-hmm. I just figured I'd just play everything, and that's how it became rather.
Sure, so what we wind up with is obviously a 5-color monstrosity, but it's also got just a ton of unpredictable cards that your opponents can't possibly, hope to play around. Like, who's going to be playing around getting Sphinx's Revelation or Rakdos' Return
exactly. Actually,
at the same time?
Yes, Rakdos Return has won me many games. They just never see it coming because they think I'm a complete control deck. But I also have some other aspect, hand disruption,
sure,
a lot of board, and then also people aren't prepared for the Planeswalkers as well.
Yeah.
Or Niv-Mizzet. Actually, this guy's an MVP.
I definitely wanted to talk to you about Niv-Mizzet. It's your fatty of choice. I guess you could kind of call the Planeswalkers fatties in their own right, but Niv-Mizzet's the big creature, and I wanted to know how he's performed today because he's not getting a lot of play right now.
I think he's been amazing. If I resolve him and I get to untap, it's pretty much game over. There's no way anyone's going to recover from it. I'm going to draw so many cards, either wipe their board or just ping them to death. In one game, my opponent had basically me on death. He had Pilgrim and a Lockstone Smiter, and I knew he had 2 Rancors in hand. And I managed to untap with Niv-Mizzet, and I just wiped his board. He played another dude, wiped it, and just attacked him 5 over 4 turns, and I won. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I imagine he's got to be really good in post-board games, too, where your opponents just have to take out their creature removal because...
Right, because they need to deal with the Planeswalkers.
You have so little in that department, but that said, if you untap a Niv-Mizzet, he's one of the best threats in the deck,
exactly.
Arguably better than everything else. So
yes, he closes out games very, very quickly.
All right. We've obviously complemented our mostly creatureless game plan with some sweepers. We've got Terminuses, Supreme Verdicts. We've got a little bit more of that in the sideboard. Another Supreme Verdict.
Yes.
Some Thragtusk also to provide D. Even Curse of Death's Hold.
It's for the Esper matchup because I just can't keep wiping the board over and over again because they have so many lingering souls. They just do 4 and then just kill me with the 4 until I wipe the board.
Okay, so the card that drew the most interest from me was definitely Selesnya Charm. We've got 2 of those.
Yes.
And I think we're very used to seeing this card in a green-white aggressive deck where all of the modes can come in handy. In this deck, I imagine the +2/+2 is not really your jam, but the other 2 modes, how are they working out?
The other modes have been the Exile one has been the most important one for sure. The 2/2, not terribly relevant most of the time.
Okay.
Actually, the +2/+2 has been more relevant in more games than anything because I run Sorin, so...
Okay, so the lifelink functioning as sort of a lightning helix.
Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, they actually won me a game once. I was at 6. I swung him with my opponent had a 3/3 beast token. He attacked me to 6. I attacked him back, pumped it up to gain 3 life, went to 9. He attacked me for 3. I went to 6, and then he Rakdos returned me for 7. And then this was post board, by the way. Mm-hmm. I had 2 cards in hand, so I reverberated it to deal him 7. He was at 10. He goes to 3, and then I snapcast to reverberate to kill him.
Before his Rakdos is returned for lethal resolves.
Exactly. Now, if I was at 3, he could have just done it for 3, and then I wouldn't be able to kill him. So that's actually fairly relevant.
Sure.
Sometimes.
And obviously, when you've got cards that are super versatile, like this Charm, and also Izzet Charm, Snapcaster Mage, his power level goes up a lot. Because you always have all these options available, and your deck has so many different spells that just one Snapcaster Mage could be, 8 cards.
Yes.
And once you're up to 8 mana, it can be all.
Yeah, and once it gets to late game, normally I have it in the bag.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the sideboard. We've got a few more Planeswalkers.
Yes, we do.
Liliana of the Veil, we have 1 of. What's her role?
It's for the Geist matchup. Okay. I can't really handle Geist on turn 3 very well. Because I would normally have to eat 6 and then hopefully have a Supreme Verdict or a Terminus.
Sure.
It's just a way to deal with it. And plus in control matchup, if I land her turn 3, normally it's game over because they can't really handle turn 3 Liliana.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you've got Nicol Bolas, who's definitely the king of all Planeswalkers. I imagine
Yeah.
he can function as sort of like another Vraska against those really late game decks.
Right. He's been an MVP against like mainly ban control decks. Like we'll just have counter wall, they counter everything else, and I'll suddenly land a Nicol Bolas, and they just can't do anything about it.
Right.
They'll play Thragtusk, I'll just steal it, and then I'll just kill whatever else is on the board.
Once he's in play, he's definitely unbeatable for the ban control deck.
For sure.
And it's pretty easy, I imagine, to bait them out of
Oh yeah,
counterspells.
it's very easy.
Especially when you're bringing in like slaughter games, so you can actually check for the coast.
Actually, one game I slaughter gamed someone 3 times in 2 turns, and it just wiped out their entire deck full of threats.
A lot of decks in Type 2, I think, are actually vulnerable to that kind of thing. Like Jund has only a few cards that can actually win the game. Ban Control has like 3 creatures that can legitimately kill the opponent.
You hit your Thragtusk, your Angel Snarity, and then maybe Rest Range Angel, and that's pretty much it.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about the construction of the deck. Where do you like playing?
I like against mid-range decks a lot. Against like full-on like blue-white control decks, it's actually really tough because I actually don't run that much permission, and if they draw all the permissions, it's actually really hard for me to break through.
Sure.
Another thing is, like, actually wasn't supposed to be this SCG today, so I didn't get to really tweak with the mana base. If I were to do it over again, I would definitely cut like a Woodland Cemetery, probably Overgrown Tomb, and more than likely a Drowned Catacomb for a couple Steam Vents and maybe Hinterland Harbor, because initially these were Azur's Charms, and I also had 2 Abrupt Decays in here, but they turned out to be absolutely terrible.
Sure.
So I exchanged it. I also had a Mercury Chemistry. If you guys ever try that, don't do it. It's a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible.
Ambitious, to say the least, and that is saying something in and of itself.
I think this deck actually has a lot of potential. It's just that it needs a few more tweaks, especially with the mana base. The mana base is a little sketchy right now. Like, I had a Future Match the other, like a few rounds ago, and I actually lost because I was missing a blue color, which is very important. And
that's exactly the kind of lands you want to add.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I want to land, because this is more blue than anything else now, as of right now.
Okay, well, you've still got a couple rounds to go in the tournament, so I'll go ahead and wish you luck. Thanks for coming in, and we'll be back with more Standard.